I'd like to take a moment to let you all know about a new non-profit organization started by my brother Craig. It's called Treats and Truth. They fill oversized brown lunch bags with snack items, chips, crackers, popcorn, cookies, etc. Also, a bottle of water, toothbrush, toothpaste, sanitary wipes, and most importantly, a small gospel-tract book of John. No cigar? I'll have to talk to him about that. The bags are then hand-delivered to the homeless and people in need in and around the Los Angeles area. Let's help get this ministry off the ground. They're a 501c3 tax-exempt organization, so any and all donations are tax-deductible and greatly appreciated. Visit their website at treatsandtruth.org. Check out the show notes for the link. Also, please follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you. Welcome to episode 178 of the Burning Bush podcast, where we share the message of the Bible while enjoying a good cigar. Hope you're doing well, and I'm glad you've joined me. In this episode, we're reading the New Testament book of John, chapter 11, with commentary from the notes in the Charles Spurgeon Study Bible, and I'm smoking the American Viking Cigars, Rico, Barato, Maduro in the Churchill 7x48 Vitola. Let's go to the Cigars Daily website and see what they have to say. Rico Barato is not a real person. We made him up. His name means Rico, rich, and Barato, cheap. These are our economy cigar brand, and they have a very special place in our hearts. There was a long time when co-owner Tim Swanson could only afford sticks like these. Each stick is a mix of long filler with some short filler sprinkled in, making this a Cuban sandwich. The drawback with these affordable cigars is that they burn a little faster and have a pretty simple flavor profile. But we feel that these sticks offer incredible consistency, construction, and flavor, especially for their shelf price. Rico Barato is less of a person and more of an idea. His name means Rico rich, Barato cheap, and it's American Viking Cigars economy brand that matches quality, construction, and flavor with a bundled cigar shelf price. It's the perfect blend for working around the yard, swimming in the pool, or sharing with a group of friends. And the strength is medium to full. The wrapper is Maduro, binder is Nicaraguan, and the fillers are Dominican and Nicaraguan. And the vitolas are Robusto 5x50, Toro 6x52, Maduro, the Gordo 6x60, and the Churchill 7x48. That is the Rico Barato Maduro from American Viking Cigars. So let's get into our reading of John chapter 11. I am reading from the English Standard Version, the ESV, and verse 1. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. And Spurgeon comments on verse 6. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Notice the connection. Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. Yet when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he waited 2 days to go to him. Sometimes true love may think fit to make us wait. It may be the truest love on God's part to let us lie sick and not to come immediately to us to make us well. Yes, the truest love may demand that the sickness should turn to death, for out of death he may bring the greater glory. The Lord does not act according to human scales, for humans do not see what the Lord sees. 1 Samuel 16, verse 7. He sees the end as well as the beginning. If Jesus' love in its wisdom made him tarry, however, that love in its sincerity at last moved him to seek the house of grief. And back to John, verse 7. Then after this, he said to his disciples, "Let us go to Judea again." The disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and are you going there again?" Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him." After saying these things, he said to them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover." Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he meant taking rest in sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus has died. And for your sake I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." So Thomas, called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." And Spurgeon comments on verse 16, "Then Thomas, called twin, said to his fellow disciples, 'Let's go too, so that we may die with him.'" A singular mixture of faith and unbelief. Thomas so believes his master that he is willing to die with him. He so doubts him that, although the Savior had plainly told him he was immortal till his work was done, yet he is afraid his master and all of them will be put to death. The Lord knows us better than we know ourselves, and the Lord accepts us, notwithstanding our infirmities. And continuing in John, verse 17. Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world." And Spurgeon comments on verses 24 through 26. Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" Martha is an excellent example of a class of anxious believers. They do truly believe, but not with such confidence as to lay aside their cares. They do not distrust the Lord or question the truth of what he says, yet they wonder, how will this thing be? So they miss out on most of the present comfort the Lord would minister to their hearts if they received His word more simply. How and why questions belong to the Lord. It is His business to arrange matters so as to fulfill His own promises. And picking up in John verse 28, when she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. Now when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" The man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish." He did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. Jesus therefore no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there to the region near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim, and there he stayed with the disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. They were looking for Jesus and saying to one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast at all?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where he was, he should let them know, so that they might arrest him. And that's the end of this episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to the Charles Spurgeon Study Bible, as well as today's cigar. Also, Groundworks Ministries for daily Bible studies and devotionals. Treats and Truth Ministry, where you can get involved in helping to spread the gospel to and be a blessing to the homeless. And the Burning Bush Merchandise Store, where you can pick up some items to help spread the word about the show. If you know anyone who needs to hear this, please let them know about the podcast and help share the message of the Bible, the hope we have in Yeshua Messiah, Jesus Christ. If you'd like to contact me, you can email me at steve@theburningbushpodcast.com, which is linked in the show notes as well. So until next time, have a great day, have a great cigar, and God bless.